Kevin.
Vernt umber.
Ooh, I like it.
Thank you.
Kevin, I've been going through and editing some of these episodes and putting them together.
Oh, that's
and
nice. Glad
I do what I can. Do what I can so that the audience doesn't hear. They hear 30 minutes of conversation instead of 45 minutes of. Yeah. Because
it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yes, because my brain does not work in conversation, and that does not work whenever you do a conversational show. But I noticed whenever I was editing one, and I left it in the episode because it's amusing. We just kind of breeze past it and does not get addressed. But I mentioned that I believe Jamie Kennedy has listened to a few episodes of the Puffin Publishing podcast. And
interesting.
And and I do believe that. I think that's I find that very amusing. But
now, I'm sorry. I forget the context. Is this evidence-based, or you are just positing that indeed in his spare time he has heard a scant few episodes by happenstance?
Well, it is evidence-based, though I also do believe that he's got a lot of free time on his hands.
Okay.
The evidence I have is one time on the Puffin Twitter, I tweeted out, or the Puffin Twitter tweeted out, if our show wasn't an improvised sketch podcast about authors, it would be a different show, or something like that. The joke is a lot funnier than the way I tried to remember it. But Jamie Kennedy liked that tweet, and then later on, I retweeted the Puffin tweet. Back whenever I had a Twitter, that was Vernio. I retweeted the Puffin tweet and saying, I can't believe Jamie Kennedy liked this, and he liked that tweet as well.
Whoa!
I didn't at him, but so the evidence, that's the evidence I have. So it could just be that, like,
I see.
he thinks my joke about Puffin is funny, and not having heard an episode of Puffin, but
sure, he's just a fashion of old school vaudeville setups.
Yes,
he's just a fan of the stylings of the Marx Brothers and jokes that sound kind of like something they would do.
Whenever I edited this previous episode of KeVern, where I mentioned that, it got my brain thinking about something that I weirdly have experienced a lot, and I thought it might be fun for us to both talk about these things, if they've happened to you. But that is KeVern's minor interactions with minor celebrities.
Okay.
Now, I don't know. I know you've got at least one, but I've had some minor interactions with minor celebrities.
That's fun.
They are fun. They don't. All in all, they don't add up to much, but they're fun stories to tell for events like this. But Kevin, living in the city of apples.
New certainly.
York City.
The city of apples, orchards far as the eye can see.
Tall Town, King Kong's vacation spot. Have you had any minor interactions with minor celebrities?
Why, certainly I have, Fern.
Oh.
And I will preface this. I will say that all of these are the God's honest. You know, this is 100% above board. But I indeed did work at a comic book store that was in a somewhat major epicenter of New York City, off of Union Square. Forbidden Planet, which hopefully by the time this episode airs is reopened after all of this virus business is taken care of. But so I met several minor celebrities in that context, certainly. One weekend morning, Neil Patrick Harris stopped by. He was looking for merchandise for his children. I shit you not. He was looking for Sonic merchandise for his children. I met character actor Michael Sheen, who did not want my help. Just...
Not at all.
Did not want it.
Stay the fuck away from me, Kevin.
Stay the fuck away from Michael Sheen. If I am not fucking Sarah Silverman, I don't want to talk to anyone. Is Michael Sheen, a fine actor. I met H. John Benjamin, Again,
cool.
very briefly, I was over at my, I worked at a games counter, which was tucked away in the side of the store. And it's one evening, and H. John Benjamin comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, do you have any, sorry, do you have any Naruto toys?" "I'm looking for some Naruto toys for my nephew." So that, and I was, unfortunately, we did not, well, I showed him a couple Naruto toys, but he was not interested in any of them. But I did, H. Benjamin did ask me about Naruto toys. I met Jason Mantzoukas.
Zooks.
The Zooks was what, he's a big comics fan. He talks about it all the time on his many shows. And he was sort of just ambling around with a lady. He ended up, I was like, if he comes over to me, I will just say like, "Hey, you know, big fan, you're like the funniest fucking guy," and I will leave it there. I will stop. You know, I don't want to bother these people. He's out with a lady. And he did end up coming over to me. I got to say some nice things. The same did not happen with Amy Poehler, who went off to the other side of the store. And the final one I will leave you with was Danny Sexbang of the Game Grumps.
Oh, wow.
He was just walking around, and I was like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Nah, brother, it's all good." And he was very smiley, he was very handsome, and we left it at that. I didn't say any. I don't like to bother the celebs that come through. I like to, I'm like, "Oh, there they are," but I just, what would I say? I'm not going to ask them for a photo, but if they come over to me, I'll be like, "Oh, sup?" And then we will move on with our lives. So I'm sorry if that was more than you asked for, but that is a small cadre of celebs that I have met.
That was wonderful. I only knew of the Mantzoukas encounter.
Zooks.
The H. John Benjamin encounter may be one of the funnier things I've ever heard. I really enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, H. John Benjamin saying Naruto. If any of you know H. John Benjamin, can hire him to say words for money, I would recommend the word Naruto.
It sounds wonderful. It sounds great. But also, you did the right thing. I think you were in all those instances, you were a good fan. You were just like, you recognize that they are human beings, and
I am not entitled to their time. I am aware of them. They are not aware of me. So I wanted to say hello. And those are my run-ins in a non signing context. Like, I have very briefly, like, Jack Black signed my copy of Tropic Thunder and Kyle Gass did not, but I wouldn't count that as a celebrity encounter. I was in line for an autograph with Jack Black.
It's different when you go to a celebrity zoo than when you encounter one in the wild.
Yes, exactly. I met a wild H. John Benjamin.
Not a shiny H. John Benjamin, just regular wild H. John Benjamin, but still.
Yeah, I was not in the safari zone. No.
I've been to a couple of the celebrity zoos where it's like you go into the thing anticipating to meet celebrities. With me, it's I introduced this as minor interactions with minor celebrities, and these are like the most minor of minor celebrities. I went to like a Survivor fan event.
Hell yeah, dude!
Where I got to meet some people that were on Survivor, and that was a great time.
Hell yeah, dude!
All your favorites from Survivor China.
Pearl
Islands, exactly. Samoa.
We've exhausted the number of Survivor seasons I'm familiar with.
I met the lady who won Survivor Pearl Islands and Survivor Heroes and Villains. At time of this recording, the only 2-time winner of Survivor, but they're doing an all-winner season. And she is gone, so they're going to have another 2-time. No one gives a shit about Survivor, but here we are. I'm talking about it. Speaking of which, I guess, like, I don't know if this counts, but, like, and we talked about this on a previous episode. And legally, not Survivor, but I was once in the running to be on a show that's very similar to Survivor, and I did meet the host of that show. And the host of that show talks in real life exactly like he does on that show. And I thought that was very funny to me. Whenever he said, "Vern, you know that if we bring someone out here, we think they've got a chance of winning." And I was like, oh my God, you sound exactly, this is how you talk. I thought you were trying to be dramatic on the show, but that's just how you are. Apart from that, my interactions have been a little bit, they've not, as far as like face-to-face ones go, it's a little bit more limited. I've had some things where like I made some fan art for the Sloppy Boys and they reposted it. Stuff like that. My big story, this is the biggest celebrity, but also the most minor interaction, was when I was working at Disney World in Orlando, Florida. I had a dinner reservation at a restaurant in the French Pavilion of Epcot.
Oh, magnifique.
Yes, it was Vern desperately trying to impress a lady.
Epcot's the place to do it, baby. City
Epcot,
of dreams. Big ball full of dreams.
And the French Pavilion is the place to do it. We got there, and when we got there, I was like frustrated because we got there late and dinner was gone, but they were like, well, because they're Disney and they're desperate to just make you happy and keep coming back. They're like, we can serve you dessert, but in a French accent.
We can serve you dessert. We have a creme brulee that looks like Mickey's head. We have a baguette that looks like Mickey's head. We have un éclair, two Boston cream that look like Mickey's head.
Oh, so you've been to this place. You
yes, indeed.
About. But I was at this restaurant and I was really frustrated and really like frazzled because it's like typical dumb shit like, it's a date and I'm trying to impress a girl. I want her to like me. You know, I went...
Get out of here, Goofy. Get out of here.
Get the fuck away from me, Goofy. I don't care that you can't ski.
Gorsh.
Just, you know, I was just very upset that everything hadn't went perfectly.
That you can't ski.
He tries, but he's not good at it.
That narrator is so mean to him.
And narrator, he's trying. He's trying.
He's trying his best.
He's trying his best.
Narrator, get out of that booth. You go do it.
Narrator, when have you played tennis? Come on, give the guy a break. He's a dog. He's doing good for a dog. He's walking around on his hind legs.
He's wearing clothes, people clothes. He's a single father. He's got a lot going on.
You should be impressed with what you're seeing, not with what you're not. Like,
Goof
he's
gets
doing
enough
his best.
shit from Pete. He doesn't need it from you.
He's a single father. Like, let him have a fucking hobby.
He's trying to jump off the diving board. He really is.
Just let him be. Come on, narrator, you asshole. And the idea of, what if that was... Yeah, I saw Goofy at the French Pavilion.
Le Gorge.
But no, I was in that typical just like line of thinking where it's just like, I wanted this night to be perfect and it's not perfect, so I'm mad. Blah, 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 blah.
Which of course makes the night way better. It really helps recoup all your losses.
Of course, yeah. And, you know, of course she was completely won over by me and we lived happily together and all this stuff, especially with where the story is going. But as I'm sitting there in this restaurant just fuming because it's not perfect and because not everything's happy and the happiest place on earth, I keep hearing this, just like this loudmouth asshole in the restaurant just talking out loud so everyone can hear him. And I'm like, this motherfucker, will he shut up? Like, no one cares. Just one of those people that the entire world has to have their attention or be at their attention, whatever it is.
For sure.
And as this night goes on and as I'm just sitting there fuming and getting frustrated, and I'm getting annoyed at this guy, but I'm starting to register, wait a second, this voice sounds familiar. It keeps happening, and I keep hearing him talk, and I'm keep getting frustrated, but there's still that air of familiarity. But then I have the aha moment, and I'm like, wait a second. There's no way. I know I've heard this voice. There's no way this is who I think it is. And there was, because it was like a little partition, just a little thing so you can know like which section of the restaurant's which, for if you're a waitress. I couldn't see the person behind this partition, so I leaned forward and looked, and by God, was it Francis Ford Coppola. And I nearly shat my pants because Francis Ford Coppola is right there. And it's like, of course that's him. I'm the only person my age who has watched all 3 Godfather films with audio commentaries. Why did I not pick up this voice earlier? And I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way Francis Ford Coppola is here. why is he here? And then I realize, I start doing like the mental gymnastics. I'm like, oh wait, this is a year and a month after Michael Jackson passed away, and next week they're reopening Captain EO at Epcot, the short film that he directed starring Michael Jackson for Epcot.
So Coppola must spread the man's ashes around the Captain EO space.
Gotta commemorate a real hero, just a true pioneer.
Guy who never did anything wrong, a guy who I definitely don't still see impersonators of running around, and I'm like, did you not read the paper?
The only thing he's guilty of is writing some good songs.
The only thing he's guilty of is dancing too well.
Yeah. He didn't even write a song. Someone else wrote them. But yeah, I was like, oh, he's here to like supervise the re-release at Epcot or whatever. Then the date went like remarkably well, because then the attention was not at all on the female that I brought with me, but it's all about, oh my God, Francis Ford Coppola is right over there.
Oh my God. The director of Jack. Oh my God.
Do you know? Okay. New York Stories, but the worst one. That's him. Not the good one by Martin Scorsese, not the funny one by Woody Allen, another guy who's done nothing wrong, but the bad one. It's him.
Wow, Francis Ford Coppola. I was thinking about the Copster earlier today, actually. Yes, I was sitting around pondering, thinking about what surely would be a topic I can only talk about with you. Is that how, like, Coppola is one of only like 5 filmmakers anyone can name from before the modern era.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little. Let me put this out there for you, Vern, and maybe you'll know some of these, maybe you won't. But let me por ejemplo, one of the greatest films of all time, The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
Who directed that?
I only know this because of a bit of a trivia, but that's Victor Fleming.
Victor Fleming. Okay. Now, would you say most people would be able to pull Victor Fleming?
Oh, no, not at all.
Another, you know what? It's got some problematic elements, but another banger, Gone with the Wind. Who directed that?
That is also Victor Fleming.
Is that really? Oh, wow. Well, what a career that guy had.
Yeah, and that's a bit of trivia.
Who done it?
That's a bit of trivia I know. He directed Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz in the same year.
In the same year, 1939. Pretty great.
1939. And there was a portion there. He missed a few days on whichever one came out second. I can't remember, but he missed a few days because he was in the hospital. And to quote one of my favorite people in the universe, Pete Timmerman, film critic Pete Timmerman, probably because he directed 2 of the greatest fucking movies of all time in the same year.
So he probably, he was tired.
He's tired.
He's pretty emotionally drained after those. So you were a bad litmus test for this experiment. But
I don't know Casablanca. I don't know who directed that at all.
But who directed Casablanca? Arguably, I don't know, like one of the 3 greatest movies ever made. Who did it? The Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, inarguably one of the most famous movies of all time. Inarguably a movie that we all remember at least 5 sequences of that are burned into the permanent cultural memory. Who done it?
Couldn't tell you.
Not Gene. We like to say it was Gene, and I love Gene. He didn't direct that movie.
I know that one of the guys from Rutland Weekend Television is in it. I know Gene Wilder's in it, but I don't know who directed it. Couldn't tell you. So that was nothing. That was just we really only recently started thinking about directors, and let's be generous here. We really only started thinking about Marvel directors, but yeah. Marvel and Star Wars are the ones that people know. But it's still, it's like Hitchcock, Spielberg, Scorsese, Coppola, and then it's a little while until like John Hughes. And we know those folks. Like we know the names Hitchcock. We know Spielberg. We know Spielberg is the one outlier, but like we know Hitchcock, Coppola. We know all these other filmmakers, but we know 1/100th of their filmographies.
Right. We know Psycho, North by Northwest, and Rear Window and Vertigo. We are less familiar with The Lady Vanishes.
No one knows Family Plot. A few people, like in your 102 classes, will know Rope. But
yeah, you're maybe gonna get a Rebecca, but that's like
Yeah.
as far as we're gonna go. We know 5 Coppola movies, but he's made 35.
yes, we know Coppola movies, and to be fair, the reason we know so many of them is because 3 of them have the same title but a different number.
Yeah, that's fair. My man comes out, directs 4 American masterpieces in the same decade, and then 80s on, he had kind of a rough time.
Yeah, no one knows, like, every once in a while you'll get like a Rumblefish in there, but no one knows, like,
Rumblefish, Swordfish, The Outsiders, but you're never gonna get to like Twix-It or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Twix. Yeah, Twix. No one's gonna know the musical that he made.
That One from the Heart?
Yeah, exactly.
I always get it mixed up with Heaven's Gate, who is Chimino. But I always get those two industry bankrupters confused. I always get 2 movies that like doomed a studio mixed up.
It wasn't until like the 1970s that people started thinking of filmmakers as like artists, and it was just like before then it was just like they're just like it's a dirty job, someone's got to do it.
It's a dirty job. Like the studio system, we like to talk about how movies now are so like, oh, it's all pre-planned, it's all studios, but I'm like, have you ever read up on the fucking 1940s? The movie is 90% done before they start filming it, and they bring in a director just to like babysit Jimmy Stewart. Like that's his job. He doesn't get to make any decisions.
In film school, in history of film, we watched this short film called like Rescued from Eagle's Wings or something like that.
Rescued from an Eagle's Nest.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, of course.
And the only thing that makes that movie noteworthy is that D.W. Griffith is the main actor in it, and he's the main actor in it because like he showed up to a studio and was like, hey, I want to direct movies, and they're like, oh, we got nothing for you, but do you want to star in this short film?
Sure.
It was not art for a long time. Film,
no, it was,
became
function.
Art. Yes, but it was all function. It was,
and there are of course great works of art from the entire length of cinema. Like don't hear Vern and I wrong, but the idea that movies were supposed to be art is relatively recent. As far as the medium is concerned. Exactly.
There's a handful of people back then who took it seriously and who wanted to elevate the art form. And that's why, like, and those people we all know, like we've heard Charlie Chaplin, we've heard D.W. Griffith, we've heard Buster Keaton. Like the only reason we know those names is because they looked at it as art and not just like, well, that's my job, gotta point the camera.
Exactly. And we have a harder time recalling whoever directed the 1930s version of King Kong, which, like, good luck. Good luck pulling that one.
Love the movie. Couldn't tell you.
Tell you. And it's just, I wonder why that is.
Yeah, and as I said, like, the only reason I know Victor Fleming is because he directed those 2 movies in the same year.
Yeah, pretty memorable.
Which is like, it's like, imagine Charles Sully Sullenberger landed the plane and also like pulled a locomotive off of a small child and saved its life in the same month.
When Charles Sully Sullenberger heroically saved 55 souls, landed that cruiser in the Hudson, and then the government fucking railroaded him, and then he also like invented penicillin in the same year.
Yes,
like imagine that. It's like some far-flung idea, like, oh, what if someone directed Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein in the same calendar year? It's like, oh, I have this crazy idea. What if someone directed The Conversation and The Godfather Part 2, like, in the same year? Like, could you imagine?
And both those movies got nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars in the same year. Like, imagine.
What if I told you that all 4 of the movies I just mentioned all came out in the same year? Like, could you imagine if 1974 was that crazy?
It would never, ever happen in a million, billion, trillion years. But
that would be crazier than anything you'd find in a movie.
This is only vaguely related, but like...
Fuck it.
And it's been this way throughout the history of just like filmmaking and just like making art. But just like so much of the 70s were like... the reason, and we talked about this in a previous episode, but like the reason Rocky ended up getting made is because there's a gangster in it, and because The Godfather was popular. There's a lot of just like, this worked, let's try it again, and it's been that way for an eternity, which is why there's a million reboots and remakes, because like it worked before, let's do it again. And anytime like there's a surprise hit, like that gets done to death immediately. Before Inception, no movie trailers had blah in them, but now they all do.
Still, 10 years later, still. And I was thinking about this earlier today, and I'm gonna bring up Survivor again. But when Survivor came out, that like did gangbusters. And like the next year, the only thing you could watch on TV was reality TV shows. Yeah.
And
change the game. Change the fucking game.
Absolutely. And you know, it's like, oh, it's people love watching this stuff, and it's cheaper to produce because we don't have to hire writers. We don't have to, do all this other stuff. We have to pay for one location. And it's a location in the middle of like the Tonga, so we can pay for like $34. But like, I was thinking about this, and I'm like, and there's way bigger things to worry about in our current state of affairs right now with the pandemic going on. But God, I hope so badly, hope against hope, that like after this is all said and done, there isn't a lot of filmmakers and people that work in the TV industry. It's like, why don't we just keep doing shows by Zoom? It's even cheaper. Like, God, I hope not, because I know this is really bad.
Cheaper. It's way
I know
cheaper.
this is really bad, and I know there's a lot of very sick people, and I'm not diminishing it by any means, but like, man, I miss production value. Like,
yeah.
I miss non-swimmy audio. I miss like lighting. And I'm just I just have this like perhaps irrational fear that like even whenever the dust is settled on this and everything's fine, we're still going to be watching Zoom phone calls on TV. And I don't want that. Like, when this is all said and done, there's going to be a movie that is like Unfriended, where it's all takes place in a Zoom conversation. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen. There's going to be like a serious like drama film, or a serious like couple like breaking up and getting back together over the course of a 90-minute Zoom call feature. Like, that's going to happen, and I'm dreading that.
Vern, I'm gonna tell you already. It's probably in production. They're filming it right now.
Well, I know that, and I only know this because an article I spotted on the AV Club the other day. Kevin Smith has already written the coronavirus pandemic into a script for Mallrats 2, which is like, I'm going to cut my wrists and shoot myself. Like, it's a bad combination of things. Oil and vinegar, it's drinking and driving, it's coronavirus and Mallrats 2. Neither of those things should happen to our country, but they're both going to happen, and they're going to happen together. I don't know.
What better time to go back to the mall than at a time where basically every mall is fucking closed.
Right?
What better time? So on the right on the pulse, Kev.
I remember watching Mallrats as a teenager and just thinking like, what if Ethan Suplee couldn't see the sailboat because his face mask was covering his eyes?
Oh, man. Can't wait to see Brody's wacky perspective on the coronavirus.
And
did I get the right Jason Lee character? I can't.
No, you got it. Yeah, okay. Brody Bruce, and
what's his Chasing Amy guy? Banky McNeil, I think, it's Holden McNeil. It's Holden McNeil. Banky,
but it's Banky.
Okay, Banky is Jason Lee. Okay, we got it. But audience, don't worry, we figured out.
Don't worry, audience. Don't worry, audience that's already tuned out.
As you were.
But there's going to be some stupid fucking bit where like, in the Mallrats 2, where it's like, oh, we can't shake hands now, and they're like, well, no one shook Brody's hand anyway because he'd stink palm people. Like, there's going to be some stupid fucking joke about that. Like,
can't wait.
Kevin Smith is a really just interesting person, because like Clerks was so important for me because I saw that movie. I'm like, oh, anyone can make a movie. You don't have to have like a pedigree. You can just, if you've got the ambition, you can just make your movie, and it's a rags to riches kind of story. And so like in the span of like, God, a decade for me, Kevin Smith was like both the most inspiring human being there was, and just also a human being that I just can't stand. Can't stand and cannot stand his art. And I don't know what happened there. I guess it's just because I got older.
I think that's truly it. I think that's the fucking secret sauce, is that if you had seen his current filmography when you were younger, you would have a different perspective on it, which is that's natural. That is the trajectory I think we're supposed to take.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's some other things too, like at least like whenever he was starting, like with the Mallrats is the exception for a little bit, but like every film he did was something different for a long time there, and so that makes that makes him interesting. I mean, Mallrats is different because it's Clerks in a mall.
Right, that's kind of what I was thinking, but I understand what you're. But Dogma is very different. It's a departure from anything he had done previously, and is still his finest work.
Absolutely, I would totally agree with that.
Haven't revisited it recently, so don't cancel me. But I remember it being his finest work.
A wonderful like rising of the stakes for his stuff. I just remember really enjoying it. It's been a very long time since I've seen it. I watched like Clerks. Oh God, like 4 years ago.
Wow.
And I was like, no, this holds up. I've since realized from like interviews and audio commentaries that like a lot of what's good about that movie happened by accident and not because he's a master craftsperson. And I remember Clerks 2 holding up. I remember Clerks 2 being fine.
I'm a Clerks 2 man. I prefer Clerks 2. I think the passion of the Clerks really was a step up from what had come previous.
A Jay and Silent Bob movie? Who would pay to see that? And I'm looking into my audio device right now.
Oh, that's what an excellent gaffe. What an excellent.
They do that 3 times in that movie where they look into the camera.
Yeah. While we're talking about Kevin Smith movies that do or do not hold up, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, nigh unwatchable.
I couldn't, like I said the other day. This was a while ago.
I have tried.
And I've been very curious about seeing Reboot, the sequel to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
The Fathom event, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Nicole and I have been like visiting a video. Well, before the thing happened, we were frequenting a video store, Top Hat Video, in Bountiful, Utah. Lovely people, lovely place. We've really enjoyed like just renting movies from there and watching them. And I saw that they had Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and I was like, I can't do this because I like these people and I don't want them to think less of me. Like they don't have it at Top Hat Video, but I would rather walk up to the counter with hardcore pornography than Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
What will they think of me?
And I don't know why, because just like there was a time in my life where if you told me the same set of circumstances, like, oh my God, I would have went batshit. But it has to just be like Kevin Smith was like a 101 class. He was a gateway drug into like, I guess he was kind of like my introduction to like independent film.
Sure.
And through him, I discovered, like other independent films and things that hold up a lot. Like because of Kevin Smith movies, I discovered like Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Tarantino is himself a gateway onto the next step.
Absolutely, yes, because the movies he references in his movies are like Breathless, by like Jean-Luc Godard. Or did Godard do Breathless, or did he do? I get confused.
Yes.
Yes, he
did
Breathless, and then
is Breathless, and the other guy is 400 Blows.
Truffaut, yeah.
Truffaut. Oh boy. I will forever in my life. I will get those fucking mixed around.
Yes, but like Quentin Tarantino references Breathless in his movies and things like that, whereas Kevin Smith references like Jaws It's just
No,
there's
for sure.
more layers to a Tarantino thing. So maybe that's just what it is. Kevin Smith was like,
It's not
you
novel anymore. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. It's not a change of pace. And he is what he is. I think we're supposed to be that way. Can you imagine if the '90s film landscape had because there were sort of four extremely prominent figures in the boom of '90s film. Okay, you have Kevin Smith, undeniably. You have Tarantino. You have Robert Rodriguez, whose movies are all better in context, where you're like, oh, wow, he made this for like $20 and he made all the sandwiches for the crew. Like, that will always make his movies one letter grade better.
Yes.
But the fourth figure is Steven Soderbergh. And can you imagine a contemporary film landscape where if we as a culture had glommed onto Sex, Lies, and Videotape in the same way, that like instead of Clerks, instead of Pulp Fiction, we cling to Sex, Lies, and Videotape? What a different film landscape that is. I don't know if it's better. I just think about it.
We're all just a bunch of like we're a bunch of not closeted sex perverts. We just wear that more proudly than than we do now.
Yeah. We more proudly throw that around. Every filmmaker strives to become a journeyman who lights, shoots, writes, directs, edits, and scores his own movies. Does 2 of them a year, and it's really more about the process than the actual movie that he ends up making.
Yeah, like ridiculous. I'm not super familiar with Soderbergh.
In his free time is like, I'm gonna recolor Raiders of the Lost Ark to be black and white, just for fun, because I can.
Yeah,
because I'm Steven Soderbergh.
I have a lot of respect for his work ethic and for the stuff that he does. I'm not super familiar with him, and it's only because like one of his. This is going to sound absurd and mind-blowing, but one of his movies left a bad taste in my mouth. Side Effects. And it was purely just because, like, that is the most realistic, relatable, true depiction of being depressed and being so suicidal I've ever seen in a movie. And then you find out she's faking it.
Yeah.
So it makes everyone who suffers from those things look like they're faking it and they're trying to get attention.
Right. And you're like, yeah, that's not like the filmmaker's intent, but it's also kind of, it's tough. That's a hard thing to parse apart.
You gotta, I mean, it was like we were talking about off mic. It's just like one of those things where he might have gotten into production. It's like, oh, I can't change it now. This is the story.
Fuck.
This is not the message I wanted to get out there.
I guess my Batman movie is a metaphor for the Bush administration. I guess that's what I'm stuck with now.
I didn't mean for it, but we've got Heath right here. Oh shit.
Fuck. Oh, he's in costume. I can't back out.
Oh, I can't rewrite. I can't rewrite because kind of the thing about my movies is how like tight scripted and wonderfully written they are. Oh shit. But that being said, with Steven Soderbergh, man, Logan Lucky, every day of the week. I love that movie. Just every single day. Just I could do Logan Lucky for the rest of my life, and I'd be happy.
Oh, what a film! What a fucking movie! Did you say cauliflower to me? You and your little cauliflower plans. I think that I've been wondering for a while when exactly Adam Driver made the transition from kind of weird looking good actor to the best actor of his generation, whose asshole we all just want to fucking tear open. And I think it might be Logan Lucky.
Kevin, we have had this conversation, and we've had this conversation on KeVern before.
Or fucking hacks. What the fuck?
Guys, Kevin and I have 7 topics of conversation.
One of them is
we
Adam
have 7
Driver's
things we ever talk
butthole.
About them, and it's Adam Driver.
His chocolate starfish. Yeah.
I, of course, fell in love with them during Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
Sure.
I'm very excited because Marriage Story is coming out on Criterion. And,
with a deceptive Blu-ray cover where it's like the happy family, and I'm like, oh, people are gonna pick this one up. Might have the wrong idea.
God, speaking of which, speaking of dumb people deceived by that movie, do you remember whenever allegedly the smartest man in the world, Neil deGrasse Tyson, tweeted that it should be called Divorce Story. Like, you dumb idiot. That's what the movie's about. Like,
You fucking idiot.
Like,
that's the idea.
That's the idea. We are living in the bad timeline because
The darkest timeline, the dumbest. I like to refer to it as the dumbest possible timeline.
Yes, as I said before, oh death, your cruelness I can feel. You took away Hawking, but you left us Neil. We're in the dumbest timeline.
We're in the dumbest timeline. Neil deGrasse Tyson's sitting at home, fucking popping on Netflix, and he's like, "I think Marriage Story is on Adam Driver's side." Fucking idiot, dumb idiot.
Go back to space. Stay. We don't want you. Because you're an idiot. Go back. There's nothing that man loves more than he doesn't love space near as much as he loves himself.
He loves just seeing himself play himself in any movie that will have him do it.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't fucking care what you think about Superman and his chances against Batman in this terrible ass Batman versus Superman movie.
Superman moves at a velocity that is too fast.
It's that's the two I get really frustrated with is Neil deGrasse Tyson playing himself in movies and Wolf Blitzer playing himself in movies.
Because those fucking whores will just...
anytime they need a news report for a movie, they got fucking Wolf Blitzer.
They got Wolf goddamn Blitzer on there, who built a fucking beach house by appearing in one scene of every movie. You gotta love it. I'm never mad when it's Larry King, though. Never mad.
Oh, yeah, more Larry King. I will take more... I'll take more Larry King any day of the week. It's never Anderson Cooper because Anderson Cooper seems to respect himself and others.
Interesting. Bold stance.
He seems to. I could be wrong, but Larry King, he doesn't have the same sense of like self-respect, but he's funny and he's funny to look at, so I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it.
The suspenders, we love him.
Yeah, I'm okay with him popping up in Ghostbusters. I'm okay with him popping up in...
Absolutely. And Neil deGrasse Tyson's Ghostbusters is like, oh, you know what everyone loved about Ghostbusters? The lore. We hated jokes. Let's get the Stranger Things kids in there and make it a very dramatic Ghostbusters film about how important Ghostbusters was. The third best Bill Murray comedy of the early 80s.
It's
Ghostbusters.
And,
very important film.
There's a lot of dumb idiots on the internet who said that, like, Ghostbusters Answer the Call, the Lady Ghostbusters, like, ruined Ghostbusters. And it's like, no, guys, Ghostbusters 2 ruined Ghostbusters. Like, don't blame this on the ladies. I love Ghostbusters 2. It makes me, in some ways, it makes me laugh harder than the first one, purely because, like, that movie, like, you can see Bill Murray collecting a paycheck in it, and I think he wears
in his eyes. If you zoom in and like enhance, is Ivan Reitman like literally signing the check.
And yeah, you can see it like how in some movies, like you can see the reflection of like the light box in the glasses. You can see Ivan Reitman signing a check in the reflection of Bill Murray's pupils.
They had to write him a small check every day just to like motivate him.
He wears the Ghostbusters uniform twice in that movie. Twice.
Doesn't he spend most of Ghostbusters 2 like in a bathrobe or something?
Yes, he does not. He so does not want to be there, and it's so funny to see him collecting a paycheck. It cracks me up every single time. Just the malaise and the contempt. The only reason he did Ghostbusters 1 was to make a movie called The Razor's Edge that no one has ever seen except for me. And so, like, he definitely didn't want to do a second one, but they backed the money truck up, so...
What are you gonna do when the money trucks show up? I mean, that's how you get Broken Flowers? I don't...
Yeah, Broken...
Timeline checks out a little bit better with, like, a Rushmore, but you understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, he'll work for pennies for Wes Anderson, but for anyone else, or for Jim Jarmusch, but for anyone else, like, 2 dump trucks.
We might
smallest bill all takes 100.
We might be pushing the runtime here, but it's Bill Murray and Bruce Willis. you hear essentially the same thing about. Now, these two are both famous for phoning in like performance after performance for the last like 20 some odd years.
Absolutely.
Except they each have like, you know, Bruce Willis will show up in the year 2012. He showed up for Moonrise Kingdom and Looper, and he is present and active in those movies. And then he's like sleeping through Glass, and he's sleeping through 40 direct-to-Redbox movies that are like filmed in Croatia. He's in 5 scenes, only enough to put him on the box art. He got paid $1 million a day, which is his going rate. But he'll show up, and Bill Murray will show up for Wes. And you hear the same thing about both of them, is that they will both meet with the director, and they will be like, oh, what cameras are you using? What angles are you trying to set up? You know, what are you thinking here? And if the director has clear, concise, well understood, and well thought out answers, guess what? Bill's gonna show up for your movie. Bill's gonna actually act in this one, baby. If you, like, know what the fuck you're talking about. Bill will act for Wes. Bruce will act for Wes. Or Bruce will act for Rian Johnson, because those are two people that know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. But if Bruce shows up on your set, Kevin Smith, you've been working in the industry for 20 years and you don't know the different lenses, Bruce ain't showing up for Cop Out. Bruce phoning this one in.
There are
some
in is the fourth one Live Free or Die Hard?
Correctamundo.
Or is it A Good Day to, A Good Day to Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard?
It goes. Die Hard. Die
whichever
Hard 2,
one it was.
Die Harder. Die Hard with a Vengeance, Live Free or Die Hard, Good Day to Die Hard.
Okay, it's Good Day to Die Hard. That's a hard word, a hard title to say.
Good Day to Die Hard.
It's the first Die Hard movie written as a sequel to the original Die Hard. All the other ones were just scripts they cannibalized.
They were all scripts for other different movies that they're like, I don't know, is this a Die Hard sequel? It is now, bitch.
Is this a Die Hard?
Tore out fucking pages.
But there's scenes in A Good Day to Die Hard where, like, literally Bruce Willis is like sightseeing in the background. He's just like wandering through the frame, just like, oh, I guess that is kind of a cool rig. You just like, and his son and whoever else has got to act through the movie for him. And it's once again,
Jai Courtney carries that one on his fucking back.
And once again, like, very funny, not an entertaining movie, but very funny just to see him. But like, also, he was in a Broadway performance of Misery as the James Caan character. Maybe it's because he got to sit down the entire time, but
he gets to sit in bed for a time.
He gets to lay in bed. Rian Johnson and Wes for Bruce, and then Jim Jarmusch and Wes for Bill, and then that's it. They don't care. And
that's it. That's who they'll work for.
The only difference is everyone looks at Bill Murray as like wonderful, wholesome man, and everyone thinks Bruce Willis is an asshole. They're both the exact same person.
They're both assholes.
Yeah, they're both assholes. Yeah, this is how it is.
That's the truth. This has been KeVern.
This has been a Talkback Podcast.